We are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our chat today. I'm very excited for the guest we have. I'm just going to give it a couple seconds for people to roll in. Say hello. Let us know where you're watching from. And as we go along, the conversation is going to be pretty organic, go with the flow. But if you've got any questions as you're watching this, don't feel shy about throwing them into the chat below, and we will get to them at some point, if not at the very, very end. So my guest today is an actor, a comedian, a podcaster, a man of many talents. And Cody has been vegan for a long time, but not always in the healthiest of ways. So what's fascinating, though, is that that's changed over the last little while, and he's actually lost 100 pounds and counting and built a ton of muscle in the process. And we're going to hear that story today. So let me bring on the lovely Cody Crain. Hi, Cody.
I'll hold for applause. Hey,
yeah,
how's it going?
I'll add those in later. Cody's at his home.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a modest setup.
Yeah, I appreciate you going all in on the workouts, though.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna do bench if you have some time just to vamp or like monologue or whatever. I'll just get a quick rep in behind me.
Well, you can do some demonstrations for us.
Yeah.
Amazing. So let's go back to the beginning. At what point in your life did you start going vegan, following vegan, however you want to define it? At what point in your life did that kind of enter into the picture?
Yeah, so vegan was a thing that I wanted to do in like high school and everything. I thought about it a lot. I remember, I think the first time that I really thought about it, I was like 13 or 14 years old. And
oh, wow.
My parents brought home like a bucket of KFC. And I remember taking one bite and being like, I don't want meat anymore. And that's not a knock on KFC or whatever. That was just like, that was the turning point. Oh, no, we lost your sponsor.
KFC. Yeah. Oh, yeah, my KFC sponsorship.
Yeah.
So 13, that's pretty, like, and remind me where, and just the viewers, like, and so where did you grow up in terms, you don't have to say specific city if you don't want to, but just in terms of like the scope and size of the area you lived in?
Yeah, like I'm a small city guy. I was born in Brockville, it's called. It's a smaller city, just barely a city. And then also a lot of like country vibes because all of my like family is in like kind of like small town, more rural, especially now my parents live in the middle of nowhere. Of just like this very like rural place where the closest store is a 20-minute drive and it's a gas station.
So that must have been a really fun place to go vegan in.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing. Like my dad was a hunter. I would say it's more of like a hunting family that I kind of grew up in. So I remember making that choice, and I knew that as soon as I moved out, I was going to do it basically. And
Right.
I didn't want to burden my parents, I guess, with like having to learn these new meals, especially when like I was on my way out anyways, as soon as I was done school. So I moved out to Vancouver, went to school there when I was 17, late birthday.
I mean, well, that's pretty, I mean, that's very kind of you to not push that upon them, but I can, because, so what year is that? So you're 13. What's the year?
Oh man, what would it be?
Roughly, ballpark.
I'm thinking around like 2007.
Okay.
2008, 2007, I would say.
Yeah, and that's still, I mean, just thinking of all the shifts and products that are available now versus then, it's like it's not. I always say it's like this is the easiest time ever to go plant-based or vegan because there's nothing stopping you, even if you live in smaller areas. Like most grocery stores have tofu, they have some supplements and whatnot, and almost every fast food chain has an option as well.
That's the thing, and I mean when I moved to Vancouver and switched to vegan, and to me, like when you think about Vancouver, it would be the most vegan place in the world, right? Like it's like very relaxed vibes, especially compared to Toronto, very slow paced, very nature heavy. not a lot of vegan options out there when I moved there. And I think that it's, from what I hear, it's a lot better now. There's a lot more there. But when I took the shift after school, after working a little bit in Vancouver to try the film industry out here in Toronto, oh my God, it was like a paradise. Like everything
Mm.
was insanely vegan. There was so much stuff that I was like, they make this in vegan. Like I remember the first time I went to Hogtown Vegan, I was like, what?
Yeah, full a restaurant that's only vegan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just before we get into that, because I want to talk about that period too, what made you, small town Cody, parent, son of hunters, like go, I don't think I want to eat animals.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I grew up around so much nature, I think, and I would see all these animals all the time, and I really like would think about, I think, and empathize every time I was taking a bite, I guess. And I wasn't that big on meat anyways. Like I didn't crave it. I still don't really crave it. I'm a breakfast guy, so breakfast foods are the one thing that I like think about and like kind of crave. But outside of that, like I've always been like happier with like, I was never a cheese guy. I was never like really a dairy guy. Like I like vegan cheese. Honestly, I'm one of the weird ones that is like I really like I really like this diet I'm having or whatever.
That's right. So you moved to Toronto, and that's sometime in the late 2000s, early 2010s.
Yeah.
So what were you? So before we jump into that, now
Yeah,
I'm
late 2010s.
okay, great. But so then, what are you eating when you're like in your teen years, and try not to burden your parents, but also probably not really wanting to lean into the typical stuff they're putting on the plate?
Yeah, I'm kind of eating whatever they're giving me really for the most part. And like it was a lot of like pastas and stuff like that. So overall, I mean there was some stuff that I just like wouldn't have. Like I was never like, I just would like just have the sides if we were having like a steak or like pork chops and stuff like that more so. But for things like chicken and everything like that, like I had it then. I just knew that when I was on my own that was going to go away.
Yeah. And were your parents like supportive in any way, or were they pretty just confused and just didn't talk about it?
Yeah, like they were supportive. I think like the first holiday I went home from living in Vancouver and like flying back in, going for like the Christmas dinner, like my mom had like found like a tofurkey back then for me and stuff like that, and would like really go out of the way to like make the different stuff that I could have, I guess.
Moms are great.
Yeah, yeah.
Aw.
My mom's always been pretty supportive about it. This year for Thanksgiving, I watched as this was the only time where I was like, I'm not having what everyone else is having right now. Where I went home for Thanksgiving, everyone's having like the turkey gravy or whatever, and she made me like vegan spaghetti. So like it couldn't have stood out more from everybody else's plate. But it was still nice.
Yeah, you're a decade or so in, so it's like gone are the days of the tofurkey, and now I'm heating up some pasta and throwing some sauce on it.
Yeah. Yeah. So at least you made the sauce, you know?
That's true. So you get to Toronto. So you've been vegan a really, really long time. So
Mhm.
veganism, like that like the back of your hand. But growing up, like I grew up as a really big guy myself. When you were around this age, like what was your relationship with weight at like around this time when you were going vegan?
Yeah, so I mean, I grew up as like a bigger kid and everything like that too. I throughout high school, and actually before I switched to vegan, my last like year or so in high school, I ended up going to the gym hard and everything like that. That was still using like a meat diet. I remember the only thing that I cut out at that time was, I wasn't a big fast food guy anyways. I was always a Subway kid. Like if I wanted fast food, I was always on that Subway.
The healthy
Uh,
version of fast food.
yeah, the healthy version of fast food, I guess. I mean, it worked, I guess, because in like the span of like 6 months, I ended up losing like close to 150 pounds,
You did the Jared
and
diet?
just I did the Jarrett all Subway. I cut out juice. That was the big thing.
Mm.
Cutting out drinking juice was such a large part of that weight loss journey. But for me, I mean, I was never like, oh, I got to lose weight. I had a friend that was got into a bad accident, and he was using the gym as a bit of a rehabilitation. I ended up going to like spend time with him and like learn what he was kind of learning, as like he was building like muscle mass back and everything like that. So I ended up joining him with that and went to the gym 6 months. I was going like crazy too. Like I was like cranked up elliptical to the highest resistance to an hour before each workout, 5 days a week.
Oh wow.
And I was just I have an addictive personality, and whether it goes to the gym, whether it goes to like it can go to food, or it can go to like collectibles or whatever, or whatnot. Like I that addictive personality comes out and goes towards something. So when you're doing something as consistent as the gym, that's all you think about. That's where my addictive personality goes, and I think that it's more of a positive one than spending all of my money on cards or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So have you, because not to fast forward too much,
Mhm.
but I mean we might as well, we can bounce all around and come back to things. But
Yeah.
just since we're talking about the gym, so you were hitting the gym hard then. Has that been a continuous thing, or was there like, because I just know from knowing you, I've known you for a couple of years now, and there's
Mhm.
been a radical transformation in the you from about a year or so ago and the you now.
Yeah, I can kind of go over the timeline of this because there was a break in the veganism, and that caused like I think quite a bit of weight gain gradually for me. But basically, my gym journey was going to the gym after school and everything like that, and keeping that process going for the last year of my high school, losing about 150 pounds or so. I think I was just short of 150 pounds total, which like for me is small. Like that I can't, like my frame is so big that that
Mm.
was like uncomfortably small, I think. Um but so I was keeping that up, and then doing the move to Vancouver, I was lucky that there was a condo, or like that I was in a condo with a like a good gym, a pool, like sauna and everything like that. So I was able to keep up that routine throughout going to school as well out there, and was able to keep it through Vancouver. Now, where the like kind of gym went away more was when I was in Toronto and didn't have the luxury of an apartment like that, and I had more of just like an apartment with nothing else, and you had to go find your gym elsewhere, which I remember getting a gym membership at the Good Life at Yonge and Dundas at the time, um, which like as an early morning gym guy isn't the most ideal, like going just like that early in the morning, Yonge and Dundas or whatever in the cold. It kind of like slipped away a little bit, but I was still like keeping like fit. I was doing a lot of walking like crazy. When I first moved here, I was known as like the guy that just like walked everywhere. Like I would walk to meet people. Like I lived in the like Cabbagetown area, and I
Okay.
would walk to meet friends over on like Humber, like close to in Etobicoke.
Yeah. So for
Or
those listening, the context of that, like that's like a boat. How long was that walk?
I think it's like a 4 hour walk, a three
Yeah.
hour, something like that. Or I would walk to like, and it didn't matter where the open mic was, I was walking there.
Yeah.
So I'd be thinking about the jokes on the way there and everything like that. So I'd be like walking like 2, 3 hours, 4 hours. Like it just didn't matter to me. And then you're walking back too. And it took me a long time to get used to Toronto Transit to even try it, because I was so like just scared of like, this looks complicated. I don't even want to try it. So I would walk everywhere. But yeah, so I was doing that. I was still walking. I was keeping active. Um, and then where it started to slip apart was I started dating someone that wasn't vegan, and after a while, um, I was then like cooking two meals, like one for her, one for me, and it kind of that's where the veganism kind of slipped away. Um, but I remember that the thing was that like she was like, oh, just like don't be vegan anymore or whatever. And
Just turn that part of your brain off.
yeah, and I was like, and then I remember when I finally took the step to not do it, and then the next month she was like, I'm thinking about being vegan. And I never like my tea kettle top rage. But yeah, so skip past all of that anyways and everything. I was still like walking. I wasn't doing like I never tried any like delivery service. I wasn't really eating out. I was going to a lot of independent groceries. I was still like eating like all like healthy stuff. And then I like got a bike. I started biking around. I moved East End. I was biking all over the place. I would bike to work. And then that's when I got like biking home from work the one day. I ended up getting doored, broke like my thumb, like tore my MCL on both sides, like all up my arm was broken, had a cast there, like cranked my neck on the top of the door, like just a brutal accident that then was like, okay, now I'm having a hard time showering. Now I'm having a hard time like cooking and stuff. So then I like tried Uber Eats or whatever. And then all of a sudden that became a thing. And then getting back on the bike, but then a pandemic happening and then relying on more stuff that way. So it all just kind of like added up to me like slowly gaining back to around where I was when I was in high school. And I didn't necessarily have a problem with it either because I never like felt kind of like ashamed of like my weight or size or anything like that. And I think that the hardest thing for me this time around was now it's been close to it's going to be close to 2 years of being vegan again. And the hardest thing for me was when I was like losing this weight and everything was like finding this like acting success, finding success like doing like stand up and like comedy and everything like that, and not knowing if I lost the weight if I would still be like, is that what makes me funny, you know?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to talk about. Because as an actor, it's like, based on your body type, they put you into a category, right? So, if you're a bigger person or don't look like an action hero, you're a character actor or a supporting actor. Like that's the old school way of thinking. Yeah, I think it shifts these days a little bit more. But you are a reoccurring character on a TV show. What's that like to have to navigate that shift with the people that you're working with, and is that an issue with your agent or with, and if you don't want to talk about any of this, we don't have to. But
No, that's actually interesting. I mean, you're like you said, I'm a recurring character on a TV show. I haven't been on since I have lost the weight, and I guess I don't know how much I can give away or whatever, but like it's coming back around where I had to like take photos of myself and them to see like how I have changed and everything and decide whether it still made sense for me to go back, I guess. And maybe I'll have more answers to that soon. Maybe I won't.
but that's kind of because I've heard that story from other actors who also have similar stories where they've wanted to get healthy or they wanted to get in shape, but then they're worried, well, will the work stop? Will the jobs go away? And what an awful thing to have to choose between your health and your career.
Yeah. And the thing with me is that I've been lucky. Like I'm lucky and unlucky. Like the way that my metabolism goes, I can lose weight so quickly. I can gain weight back just as quickly.
Right.
But it goes back and forth like that, which I think isn't the healthiest as well, as far as like even losing weight that as quickly as I can do too. Where we're about a year and since I've like been back at the gym and like doing this regular routine. Yeah, we're a couple weeks away from a year of full doing it, and I'm over 100 pounds lost in that span. But yeah, it's interesting because with acting, you have to think about everything. Like you think about like as weight, of course. Like as soon as you lose weight, you're like, well, when's the right time to get headshots or whatever? Like I got to get new headshots. Like it's all of a sudden like losing weight is like, will I still book? It's also a financial burden because you have to get all of this new stuff done for yourself and like promote yourself in this new way. And then on top of that, like it's also things as stupid as like hair too, right? Like
Yeah.
I have this like hair that I think like sets me apart or whatever, but I don't always want to have this weird early 2000s pop punk hair, that has these long bangs in front of me. But I like it most of the time, but sometimes I'm like, I'm in my 30s now. But you're stuck to these things, and every decision's that much bigger because you're like, if I get this tattoo, will it do this? If I shave my beard today, will I have an audition where I need a beard? Well, like, I mean, if I cut my hair, then that's $500 in new headshots minimum, right?
Yeah.
So
So your haircut gets a lot more expensive.
yeah, yeah, it really does. So the weight loss thing is like you have to. It was a big choice because I think that when I gained the weight was the most successful I have been to date. Like I went off and on of booking things over the years. Like I've been doing this for close to 10 years. And then all of a sudden I gained this weight and the pandemic is like my best time. Like I'm on all of these different TV shows and everything. I'm booking more than I ever have. So I guess like, and I'm getting big opportunities too, or being considered for things to like play people or whatever. And like, that you need to be bigger for. So yeah, I guess it's interesting, a little bit concerning sometimes, and you don't know how to like balance it and weigh it, which is already a tough mindset to have when like the mindset of going to the gym is such a hard thing to like do regularly.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've got a question from a regular fan of the channel, known as Blind Kimberly. Hey, Kimberly, thanks for joining us. So she wants to know if going through that period where you did lose that weight, was it diet and exercise? She's asking if it was the Ozempic, which
No.
I only know Ozempic from the stupid ads, and I
Yeah.
always assumed it was a weight loss thing, but I didn't want to give them the Google search.
Yeah, I think Ozempic might be a diabetic thing. I think it might be I know that I don't know. I know that my mom takes it, but it's not for weight loss. So
Okay,
I think
there you
it's
go.
something else.
There we go.
But
I'm
no,
not giving them the the Google search that
no,
their ad
use
demands.
my word. Take this comedian's word.
Not even gonna Google it.
Yeah. I'll let you know if Ozempic's right for you, okay? No, it was all exercise basically. Diet, I've never had a strict diet, and even with being, I mean, if you call vegan a diet, then yeah, I think there's diets within vegan. I think there's unhealthy ways to be vegan. So I don't necessarily go that route when thinking about it. I think it may be more of a lifestyle for that, but I've never been.
Let's stay on that for a second then. So what is that like? What would you say a typical day of like, or typical meals you'd have throughout the week would look like for you?
Yeah. So I think like I'm known to be a creature of habit, especially with my breakfast, where I make my own vegan breakfast sandwiches and have those quite often.
What's your vegan breakfast sandwich?
So ideally, what we would have is an English muffin. We would then put on some vegan mayo. We would do a slice of tomato, maybe some avocado. And then I make my vegan scramble, which is a little bit of, I think it's called Indian black salt, which is more of like
Calamanek.
Yeah. So more of that sulfury kind of like taste, I guess. Like what some have told me is the worst part about eggs.
But vegans add it.
Yeah, we just want it.
We sprinkle it back on. I used it last night.
Yeah. So that, and then turmeric and a little bit of black pepper,
and you
as well as
with tofu, I guess.
Yeah, with tofu, and I'll also throw in to my scramble spinach and maybe a little bit of like shredded vegan cheese. So
That sounds delicious.
on top of that, I also have my vegan bacon that I make, which is thinly cut tofu marinated with tamari, liquid smoke, and a little bit of steak salt for like that kind of like meaty kind of flavor. And I make that a lot more like crispier and have the stovetop setting higher so that I can have it like kind of like crunchy.
Very nice.
And
Delicious.
that's a typical breakfast for me.
Nice. I just got a new recipe that I tried last night that's going to be in we have a video that's going to come out in January where we're doing recipes from people in the audience.
Mhm.
And someone sent us this, they called it the eggless omelet. And I've made this before, like versions of this. They use chickpeas mixed up with lots of spices and some oat flour and water. But what they did that I've never thought of doing before was brilliant, was you pour it out onto rice paper. Like rice paper that you'd use to make like a spring roll or something, right?
Mhm.
So just put the rice paper right on top of the frying pan, pour it right on top, it cooks right on top of there. But then what happens is from the moisture, from the heat and everything, the rice paper gets soft. So but also you don't need oil or anything because it's protecting the bottom. Brilliant. And you steam it out. You put a
Yeah.
steam like a handle on top so it steams it. It was brilliant. I was expecting it to be crunchy and weird. It was it was a bit of a game changer. Blew my mind a little bit. Anyway,
I'm gonna have to try this.
yeah, it was good. So that's great. So that's your go-to breakfast. And then so
Yeah.
what are like some typical meals look like for you, just so people can get a sense of kind of how that fits into the equation of all of this.
Yeah. So I'm especially this time around. And I don't think we mentioned that this time around going to the gym and everything that I've been focusing more on like the weight training and like muscle building and everything like that using the plant-based diet. So making sure that I get the protein for that, which I mean, I'm still a big guy. Like naturally, ideally, I would like to stay around the 200 mark. That's where I would like to. That's like my goal is to stay around there, and whether I'm like building muscle towards that or like holding on to like fat, like that's just where I want to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is still a lot of protein. Like you need for like gaining muscle mass at that is like I forget what the
There's an
stat is.
equation.
Yeah, there's an equation for how much protein you need for that, which I think roughly works for me that like I would have to have like 3.5 bricks of tofu would just about get me there.
But nobody wants to eat.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. So then do you supplement with protein powders?
I don't really right now. The only stuff that I use right now as far as like supplements is I have B12 pills, I have iron pills,
Yeah.
I have creatine that I use before workouts, but that's mainly just like making sure that your muscles are more relaxed, I guess, and not pain later on. And then as well as I go 3 months on, 3 months off of a pre-workout. Um, that's good for like antioxidants and stuff like that, but also like dehydrates you. But it's good to keep you motivated and help you hit those next goals. And then after I've noticed that with like the 3 months off, after you're still at that goal level and you're able to hit that cardio just the same without it as well. And then I go back on it for a little bit again.
Yeah. So what kind of things are you eating then to make sure you get that amount of protein you need to build muscle?
Yeah, it's a lot of chickpeas, a lot of beans, a lot of tofu. Yeah, that's kind of the main thing. I'll try to get some nuts in there. Chickpeas is honestly the biggest one. Like, and that's like my if I'm like go to like trying to like go to a place or whatever to get a lot of like protein and like a nice like filling like after gym kind of meal. If I'm to go somewhere else, like I go to like a Caribbean place or whatever and get like a chickpea like curry, like at Tropical Joe's here close to us. You'll know, but it's like beans and rice and way more chickpeas than you can even deal with.
Nice. If you ever want, I've got a recipe on the website for chocolate chip cookie dough, which is using chickpeas, and it's secretly like a healthy like post workout snack.
Oh,
That is most.
I definitely want that.
Yeah, so it's great because it's the kind of thing you can just eat a couple spoonfuls the way you would like cookie dough, but
Mhm.
and then you can like adjust the amount of sweetness to your liking, but really you can get away with very little of it because you got chocolate chips in there too, or you could swap out
Yeah.
the chocolate chips and make it like an oatmeal raisin kind of flavor vibe too. It's pretty customizable that way.
Mm.
So lots of that, lots of those kind of things. Let me just check in on our comments before we jump over. I think we got a couple answers for the Ozempic question. Samantha says they take it for their type 2 diabetes. Thanks.
I was right. See?
And Kimberly also says that they don't trust it. Oh, and Samantha also said that one of their goals for going plant-based is to be able to get off the medication. I think that's a lot of people's
Yeah.
how a lot of people get into it that aren't coming it from an early age. My wife is similar to you, Cody. Like she just kind of grew up not really being interested in meat at all.
Mhm.
Whereas so many people now are coming to it through health first, as opposed to a thing about animals and whatnot. And mine's a mixture. Mine's a bit of like that. Mine's health, environment, animals. Lastly, not to say I don't care about animals, obviously, but it's like that wasn't like the thing. I don't know why that wasn't the thing that really, really drove me to it. But it's definitely all of those things. So it's interesting because everyone has a different like origin story in terms of how they kind of like came to this way of eating, but it's they share all the same kind of benefits, right?
Yeah. I guess I do have a bit of an origin story for coming back to veganism, the big motivator here that I think is insane and wild.
Oh, let me put a title up here because I want to. As people wait for me to type, I keep getting typos. Here we go. It's worth it. Right? Look at this. Look at this awesome banner. All right.
Yes. So I don't know if you're ready for this, Jeremy, and I don't know. I might have told you this too. I don't know if I have because um, we just spent a long time of not seeing each other.
It's true.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened. But I guess I just got pissed off.
It's true. I pissed Cody out. Cody and I often go on. Cody has a wonderful Survivor podcast that I go on once or twice a season, and my opinions were less than popular the last time I was on.
But back to veganism. So I was a guest on a podcast that was more of like a paranormal based podcast. I was a guest on it, and the other guest on it was a psychic. Now, the psychic on this podcast went through and was like doing predictions for all of us there. And she was like, she went through the host and was basically like, like you're like stressed about your job, but you're like in for like a raise, your hard work's going to pay off or something like that. Like it was all like really like nice, positive stuff.
Then she gets to you.
And then she gets to me. And her only prediction is she's like, I have someone here that says he's a family member of yours that he at one point had a heart attack and survived it. He says you're not going to be so lucky. I'm like, what? And then that you're going to have a heart attack and die by the end of the year.
By the end of that year?
Yeah. It was in like February. It was in February
of this year?
It wasn't this year. It wasn't this year.
So you've made it through the calendar year?
I made it through. I made it well through now. But the big thing that I changed was immediately went vegan. Immediately. Wow. I immediately went vegan. I was like, I've been thinking about this anyways. It'd been on my mind. And so I took the step to commit to that. And I know what people are thinking, like, oh, whatever, it's a psychic. Also, why would a psychic be so harsh to you? You seem like such a nice guy. No, I guess I wronged her.
I only believe the psychics that tell you bad news.
Yeah,
all the psychics, they want you to give you the good news so you keep coming back. But the ones that give you the bad news, those are the ones that But I think that just speaks to there was something in the back of your mind that was probably gnawing at you. That was kind of the catalyst that allowed you to go, you know what? It probably can't hurt.
Yeah. Well, and the thing was too that I I don't necessarily believe psychics. I don't necessarily believe what they're saying. But if someone's telling me that I'm going to die of a heart attack that year and all I have to do is like just slightly change my lifestyle, I might as well take it a little bit seriously. Like what do I have to lose?
Well, that's just it. You're not gonna like. You're not. That's just it. Like nobody ever like got a little healthier and went, yeah, I wasted my time with that.
Yeah.
That's just, you know what I mean? I don't think
Yeah.
anyone ever has. Like you get into it, even if you don't keep up with it. I don't think anyone looks back at that time and goes, yeah, we're a waste of time that getting healthy and learning how to use my body in better ways.
Well, the thing was that I did go to my doctor too and talked about it to him. And he took the psychic seriously. He sent me right to a cardiologist. He skipped the line.
He agreed.
Yeah, he agreed. He looked at me. He's like, "Yeah, that psychic was right."
I was going to give you 6 months, Cody, but if the psychic says 12 months, we should. Jesus.
But yeah, so I went to like a cardiologist and stuff and I mean, basically all they were like, you just need to like, you need to like work out more and like go to the gym and be more active and stuff like that. And one of the big things that I think happened to a lot of people over the pandemic, and it wasn't necessarily my heart, but a lot of people over the pandemic got like a fatty liver from not moving enough, right?
Mm.
You're stuck inside for so long. So I had a bit of a fatty liver. I don't know how it's doing now. I think my doctor honestly hasn't contacted me since the cardiologist appointments. I think I'm presumed dead. Uh, but I think if I ran into him, he'd be pretty impressed with my results so far.
He wouldn't recognize you. I think have I told you the story that someone once asked me if I'd ever been told that I looked like the skinny Jeremy Lalonde. Like that for your doctor and she was like, you look like a patient of mine.
Yeah.
I think he's dead. Yeah, he died
Yeah.
last year. Very sad.
Yeah.
Story.
I sent cards for his regard. Where'd you send them to?
Yeah. Donate some money in his name to charity.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
But yeah, so I ended up doing the vegan, and then I worked as I was like going into that lifestyle, gaining. I honestly felt like I was gaining a lot of energy and stuff doing that, and then I ended up going to the gym after a while too. I had like I mean, mainly you're probably like in your head a lot about the different stuff, but I had like a little bit of a scare that I went to the hospital for of just being worried, I guess, about the old heart, the old ticker going away.
you went to the hospital because something was feeling off, or because
Yeah, like I had like a numbness and stuff, and I was like kind of like hyperventilating, I guess, a little bit. So I ended up going there, and they said I was fine. So I don't know. But the thing is that like I do have like such a family history with it. Like I think the person that she was talking about actually lined up. Like my grandfather had like a heart attack, but called the ambulance because he felt it coming on, and he ended up being saved from it. Passed away later, but like he died when he was 93 or 94. And then also my uncle had a heart attack when he was in his 30s as well.
Yeah.
So I think that I have enough like family stuff that I'm like, okay, well, I guess like between that and this psychic trying to ruin my life,
Yeah.
or save it.
And is weight the kind of like a reoccurring theme in your family?
Yeah, like a little bit. I mean, like it's definitely a thing. I don't think it. Yeah, you know what? I would say it is like a little bit of a thing between it. Like not for my grandfather was like really tiny and small, but and still had a heart attack too. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
I think it is in most people's family these days, sadly. That's kind of that's the common thing, right? So what is going into your workouts then? Because that's the main thing that you've been doing to stay healthy, and have this kind of amazing transformation you had. So what's a week of workouts look like for you? Like what's that routine? Do you have like is it like a pretty fixed thing, or does it shift week to week?
No, I have a fixed thing, and that like to the point too where if I'm like the one thing that will deter me to like doing it or like going, which I've been pretty bad the last couple weeks, but we'll be going back at it full force here again. But is that like if I feel like I don't have enough time to do my whole workout, then it's hard for me to get there because I don't want to just like half do it or whatever.
Isn't that crazy?
I,
Like I'll have
yeah,
those same things where I'm like, well, I wanted to do a 30-minute workout. And I've only got 25 minutes now, so I might as well not do anything.
yeah. Doesn't make any sense.
No.
But there it is. But yeah, so I go Monday to Friday. My routine's about 2 hours, about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on what day it is. Some of them take a little bit longer than the others. But in short, my Monday is chest and back. So I start off with the 25 minute of elliptical circuit, it's called. So it's the elliptical, which I have the resistance up to 13 now, and but it keeps changing up your positioning. So for me, a lot of the time the cardio feels like boring because it's like the same for that entire time. But the elliptical circuit, like every minute you change your position. So you're either going like backwards or you're like going like backwards with your knees bent, or like forward on your tiptoes, or just arms going, or it's a full body workout and works out all of those like small muscles that we often forget about. So it's good for that as well, where it just kind of like fills in everything. And I have like a mini like 25 minutes full body workout as a part of my cardio too, as well as trying to just go as hard as I can and improve my results and maximize those like calories, or like or go a longer distance with keeping the heart rate that I'd like and not going too high in the heart rate. So that's how I start every single one of my workouts, Monday to Friday.
That's like the first half hour. That's like your warm up.
Yeah, that's the start every single time. And I also find like some people do cardio after and everything, but for me, I've found that doing cardio at the start just pumps you up and gets all of your muscles moving so much that you can do that much more.
If you're not warm when you start your real workout, you're not getting the benefits of it.
Yeah. So then I do chest and back, and I can go through, I guess, what that entails. So I don't use like a typical like barbell, I guess, bench press. I use dumbbell bench press, so I don't have to rely on any kind of spotter or anything like that.
Smart. And you could also like shift it over to do some of it at home if you ever needed to.
Yeah, exactly. And I have a few weights here as well. So I do.
You got a lot of weights, Cody. I can see them all.
Yeah. I got a few over here. The bench, and I don't use that bench press at all, like I just said, and that takes up the majority of my gym. So,
sorry, I interrupted you.
But yeah, so I use 2 dumbbells for the bench press. So I do flat back on a bench for that, and then I do bar or dumbbell rows as well, where I'm like bent over on the bench and rowing backwards. In that, I do more bench. I do an incline bench at a lower weight, and doing 3 sets of 10 of that, or 3 sets of 8, or however many I can do with the weight that I'm doing. If I'm successfully for a week doing 3 sets of 10 with that workout, then I know I have to increase my weights.
Right, because it's not, if you're not getting to the point of fatigue, I guess, right?
Yeah. So that's been, and I've been successfully increasing my weights this whole time at a higher pace than when previously going to the gym, which has been nice. So after that, I do the pec fly machine, as well as the back version of it too, when you flip it backwards and it does the back. And then I do the lat pull down after that. And then the some rows to end the chest and back. That one's one of my quicker days, which is nice because it's 2 days of the week, because I do that one Monday and I do it on Friday. Yeah. So then the next one is Tuesdays and Thursdays. I do abs and legs. And basically, I think that any gym that you go to will have like kind of a leg circuit or whatever that will have like a bunch of machines in a row. I use those. I don't want to, especially as a guy that like got into a horrific bike accident that tore both of his MCLs. I don't want to take any chances on like doing free squats or anything like that. So I use those. I built strength with those. I started on a lighter weight. I think one of the biggest mistakes that you can make, especially if you're going to the gym, is going hard on legs. Because if you go hard on your legs and they're sore, you're going to miss the rest of the week. That's going to be the hardest time to get back there. So I always suggest, like, for the first month, maybe even 2 months, go light on the legs. Like, do enough that you're doing the workout, but don't go your maximum weight or anything like that. Do what is just like easy and comfortable, but keeping that strength steady, because your cardio is doing most of your leg workout anyway too.
It's true, you're doubling up, and I find like I ride my bike a lot and I walk a lot, so it's like you're already doing more leg workouts than you're typically doing other workouts too.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I do legs, I save them for the end of the week, so that way if they're sore, I have until like Monday. I have at least 2 built-in days of recovery.
Yeah. So I mean, and now with the with like how long I've been doing it or whatever, I can like maximize the legs on the Tuesday and Thursday and still be fine for the rest of the week. It might be a little sore, but it's not going to be crazy. Like, it's
Yeah,
not going to be wobbly leg like you are at the start.
yeah.
Um,
And do you believe that it's like I always thought that it's like if my muscles weren't a little sore the next day that I didn't do it well enough, or is that like dangerous thinking?
No, I think that's dangerous thinking. Basically, if your muscles are sore the next day, then you didn't have enough protein.
Oh,
So the more protein you're having, if you're having the appropriate amount of protein for the heavy lifting you're doing, then you're going to be just fine every single day.
interesting. I'd never heard that. That's
Yeah.
fascinating.
So there's that, and also if you're doing this seriously as well, and you want to like keep increasing your weights and everything like that, then I do suggest going on creatine as well. You can get vegan creatine. I think all of it's vegan. To be honest, I know the one I specifically have is vegan, but the creatine basically just makes it so that you don't have that pain the next day. So as you start getting more into it, I would say like after maybe like 3 months of just consistently doing this thing, then you can get the creatine. You just add it to some water, and it's just a recovery and makes it so that you can do just as much all throughout the week and
Okay.
not get tired.
Right. And do you have any recommendations for people that like might have mobility issues, people that are maybe a little bit older, or have are just haven't really ever really had an exercise routine and just don't know where to get started?
I, I would say that that's what the like machines are for. I think that that's exactly when you're going to the gym and you have all of those machines going forward, doing that lightweight, like I said, and just doing that routine, because those machines all cover that, and you're much less likely to get hurt on those. Like, you're doing them, if you're doing them exactly how they say, then you're doing them in proper form. You don't have to worry about the weight slipping away from you because the machine has you steady. Also, on top of that, I would do, if you don't feel like doing the machines or whatever, then like all body weight stuff,
Hmm.
with the mobility issues, and just making sure that, like, and I know for me it was especially hard starting with like the knee and everything like that, how like sometimes like doing squats could really affect the knee. So making sure that you're like just keeping track. Like, if something feels wonky and like you do that first squat and you feel like something feels odd, then I would go back to the machine again and slowly build up the strength so you're able to do your body weight too.
Yeah.
The other thing that I've found that goes with mobility issues, because for myself, like with those injuries that I've had now, I do have like arthritis in my knees, and I have it in my thumb as well from where it broke as well. And for me, the best thing that I found is just like, I from doing the workouts, the mixture of doing the workouts and doing it consistently, as well as just drinking lots and lots of water, like so much water. And that I found that as long as I'm hydrated and as long as I'm drinking lots of water, I haven't felt my arthritis in like almost the entire year. I have like a weird day every once in a while, but then I drink a lot of water that day and I'm honestly better. So I think like staying hydrated and
Mhm.
just like doing like small kind of like workouts to keep that kind of like nimble and moving, little movements.
Yeah, moving a lot. Kimberly is also asking, how about no machines for homebound? I can speak to this, but do you have anything?
I would go more towards the body weight stuff.
Yeah.
Again, yeah, and of course, I know that you're a big YouTube guy too, right? Like you look at
I,
the YouTube workouts.
it's all of my workouts are on YouTube, and I have a couple I just do on my own now too. But I find it's just there's so many great people out there, and especially for like I strongly recommend for people starting out that just want to do body weight only, get yourself a yoga mat, or unless you have a carpet, in which case you're probably set and your floor is comfy enough. But just doing stuff like starting off with beginners yoga type thing
Hmm.
will at least start you getting a bit more. We'll work on your flexibility and your core strength and those kind of things. And even if you're not looking to like build muscle and get like strong and that kind of stuff in that sense, if that's not your goals, then I think yoga is a really, really incredible exercise because it combines so many different things and so many different muscles, and you can and it's the kind of exercise that will find you where you're at. A good yoga instructor will make modifications and suggestions for what you can do if you can't do the full thing or whatnot, right? So you can always pare it back or go to the next level, right? So start with beginners and move your way up to intermediate and then advanced. And then, to me, what I normally do is like a power yoga, which is a bit of a higher tempo, a bit more complex moves, longer holds and certain things. And, get a bit of a sweat on, but also you're working at your core and doing all these other things. But also just like what you were saying, Cody, at the beginning, just walk. If you can. And if
Yeah.
I know some people, have mobility issues and might be in a wheelchair and that kind of thing. In which case, honestly, I think I found a YouTuber the other day because someone was asking me about this that focuses on mobility strength issues. And so, do Google search for that and look for people that are working, showing you things in that space because they're out there. Like there's every kind of workout you can look for to do from home is on YouTube somewhere.
I remember watching. I always think about like this is stuck with me forever. It was on one of the Cineplex pre-shows here in Canada, where it's like these are workouts that you can do like at any time or whatever. And I remember them showing like even the workout you can do in the movie theater and how your chair goes up and down. They were doing like little crunches with like the chair while they were waiting for the movie to start. And I've always thought about that. I was like, oh, I guess, yeah, that's a little something. They're like, now you're working off that popcorn while you watch the movie. So imagine a whole row of people watching the movie just going up and down in their chair.
That's hilarious.
But I've thought about it forever. Like it's always stuck with me. I think about it every time I'm in the movie.
Yeah, I think about it whenever I'm stuck in like an office or if I'm on set or anything like that. I'll just start doing like just squats in place or just
Yeah.
anything to just move my body if I can't. I get when working from home a lot. I find if I just wanted to, I could probably spend the day on the couch and the day would just fly by with whatever I'm working on. So luckily, I've got Rufus over here that every couple hours gives me the stink eye and reminds me that we got to get out of our ass and go walking.
Also, I would say for like the workouts at home and everything like that is the big things to have patience to, because the thing is that nowadays we have everything accessible to us like that, and that can also be overwhelming. And not everything's going to work for you too. So it's just about finding that thing that does work for you. And that was the same thing for this gym routine I built now. I didn't use a personal trainer or anything like that. I looked at a bunch of different workouts. I did my research. I was patient. I tried a lot of stuff that didn't work at all. That first like month or two was really just building the routine and getting what exactly worked for me. So at home, especially, you're gonna find all these YouTube videos. You'll find some yoga stuff, and you'll be like, that video doesn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
Or you might think in general yoga doesn't work for me, but the next yoga video might be perfect for you. So I would just have patience like that. And
yeah, and I found that with my son. My son is starting to do morning workouts with me, and there's some people that I show him that he hates. He's like, I don't like that person, but then, and he thinks that he doesn't like that exercise because of that. But it's just their approach into it. So definitely, I was very similar. Like I built this kind of like HIIT routine that I did based off watching a bunch of other different people and then cobbling together the ones that I liked that I found were challenging and that I could build upon. So I think that like Cody's saying again, like we said this a million times here on the channel, and I think like any fitness guru worth their weight will tell you this. It's about the journey, not the destination. You have to like enjoy the process, and there's no such thing as like an end goal to health and fitness.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people go, well, once I get to this certain amount of pounds or whatnot, then I'm set. It's like, that's not how it works at all.
Yeah.
Because then the next day comes, the new challenges come, or your body career. It's like, you've got to just, find things that work for you that you can do for forever. Because that's really the trick to longevity and health, is just to enjoy doing it and not think, well, I just have to do it for a little bit longer and then I'll be fixed. Quote unquote.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's all just like patience and just keeping your mind into it. I mean, the biggest thing is, like you said, like just thinking about that destination and where you want to be. But every single day, I mean, I keep my goals small.
Mm-hmm.
I have like I want to like my goal was to hit, for example, like get 400 calories on the lost on the elliptical circuit, and I started at like I think like 300 or something like that, or like just under 300, and now every single time I use the elliptical circuit, I'm over 400.
Nice.
And I'm just going that much harder. I'm using that much more resistance, and I slowly built up to that. And it's all about like slowly building up to, I think that the thing that keeps me conscious is not necessarily the weight, but that next like specific goal. Like I want to bench press this much or whatever, and like I'm that close, so all I need to do is just jump up that little bit more. And then all of a sudden, it's been a couple weeks, you've been focusing on that, you've hit your new goal with the bench press, but that weight's gone as well. So it's just all about small goals, keeping everything small, everything obtainable, because everything's going to be satisfying, and there's a lot on the journey to be satisfied about.
Yeah, and it's easy to get discouraged if you're not enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Great. So if we have any last minute questions, throw them in now. And while we're waiting for those, potentially, I'd love if you could talk to Cody now from like a couple years back. The guy who just found out he's only got a year to live. What, in terms of tips, in terms for starting off, not necessarily vegan, because you got that on lock, but just in terms of like, I mean, you've already said a lot of it probably in the last couple minutes, but any other kind of things you would heed someone starting off and wanting to get healthier through exercise?
I think that building the routine is just the hardest part. That if you can be consistent, have your days where you're like, whether it be you want to do 5 days a week, or whether it's I want to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but having it that specific and just being there,
showing up,
then it's going to be easy. Like it's going to be easy, and all you have to do is just keep to that, and it will become natural at a certain point. You'll wake up and you'll go to it or whatever. If that's the time that you said, stick to it. Just stick to the time that you said, and make sure that it's a time as well that's going to work for you and not be interfered with, I guess, because the moment that you're like, oh, I'm going to go at like after dinner on a Friday or whatever, well, most of the time something's going to come up and you're not going to go after dinner on a Friday. I can guarantee you.
No, I highly recommend, like, I think you and I are both the same way, is like first top of the day.
Yeah. It's morning, wake up.
Yeah. Cause it's like, for me, it's like, then it's done, and nothing can interfere with it. It's, it's like, it's so easy to push it away when the day goes on. If you have it later on, I mean, you got to do what works for your schedule, but yeah, if I can roll out of bed and do it right away, it's something I've done. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel weird if I don't do it.
Yeah. And the thing is that I'll say that it's hard when you wake up to like think about going to the gym or whatever. And then a lot of things will go through your mind at that time of being like, well, if I go to the gym, I'm tired right now, I'll be tired for the rest of the day. Well, it'll wake you up. Like you'll be pretty good after. Your adrenaline's going to be crazy for the rest of the day. And then also it just becomes easier, and if you're waking up like that little bit earlier doing that, you're going to be way more energized to do everything for the rest of the day. That's what I've found anyways. Like I'll be able to do anything for the rest of the day. And now the days that I'm not doing it, I want to take naps all the time. I want to just like sit on the couch or whatever. And like, but when you're like doing the gym, you're like, okay, I did have all of these things on my list. I needed to do this. I needed to do that. I needed to do that. And now my mindset's in there. I
It's
think that
true.
it's meditative.
Very so much so for me. Like doing that more early morning workout is just like it's so meditative for me. Yeah.
And I schedule my whole week with it. Like I'm like sending emails while I'm there in between sets. I'm like, oh, I got to do this, and like my mind's just racing with all of the stuff. Like, especially with like I guess like the industry we're in, like there's so many like little things and everything, and like and doing stuff like this where you're doing little bookings and all of that, and like that's when you think about it, and that's when you're like, oh, I gotta like reach out to this person or like follow up here or like do this, and like I'm at the gym. Like I have a very specific, I guess, routine for that too, of like work I can do there and making sure that I'm like sending those like kind of emails in between sets anyways.
Yeah. No, it's great. Well, it's good. It's just like I think it boils down to just having a system.
Yeah.
A system that you can, but also being, open to modifying it over time to make sure it's working best for you. So that way, again, you just want to do it. So last question, and then I'll let you go, Cody. Kimberly just wants to know if when you started on this too, if were there any particular foods you kind of limited or gave up that you went about as you kind of started wanting to lose a little bit more weight and get healthier? Were there any things that you kind of avoided?
Um, this time around, other than like the vegan, no. But like I said before, like the juice was a big one for when I was younger and losing all of that weight, like not doing like orange juice and stuff like that. Like a lot of those sugary juices just are worse than pops, like, and yeah, so that's kind of the big one for me. Other than that, like I have like my treats, my vegan treats or whatever. I still kind of do those things, and I haven't really gave up on anything.
So we have one more question. Sorry, Christy. Thank you for reminding me. I had that question written down and I didn't look at it. So, Christy sent me this question before the podcast. So I'll just read it verbatim. I have a 19-year-old son who is always pushing it back on plant-based vegan eating. He only started a few years ago and insists that the only way to bulk up is by eating chicken. He says it's the easiest and only way. Side note, he's not a fan of tofu, but does eat beans. Basically, how can I get enough calories and protein into his diet so he can gain muscles he's looking for in the gym without eating animal products?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing here. So I think that the big things for me, especially if he doesn't like tofu, then I would go the protein powder route. There's a lot of great protein powders. There's a lot of like pea protein is a nice one that doesn't have like a weird flavor to it, like the Vega.
Yeah, I like Lean Fit. Lean Fit's really great, and it's dirt cheap at Costco.
Yeah, so I mean, beans, chickpeas, throwing those in rice, all of that stuff. Like if you did like some avocado, beans, chickpeas, rice, like you're going to be pretty set there, and it's going to be pretty lean. And then on top of that, just doing like just stuff with like using the creatine you can still use. That's good for muscle gaining because you're just increasing your weight and your amount you're able to do. So if you're putting that creatine in some water and then having enough protein through chickpeas, beans, and just measuring that out, you're going to be completely fine. You're going to gain a ton of muscle. I mean, I started this workout, for example, like just under a year ago of doing this routine and everything and building this muscle. I started with, I think I started at 250-pound dumbbells for my bench press, and now I'm at 280-pound dumbbells in each hand. Just a significant increase for under a year, I would say.
That's pretty big.
And just bulking up at a significant amount. And it's just about measuring out that protein. It doesn't matter if you have chicken or if you have tofu, as long as you're having just lean lean protein, and that's what beans and chickpeas are. That's why they say chicken instead of beef, because beef is fatty and like
Yeah.
pork is fatty, and it's not good for protein and muscle gaining. But if you're having a lot of like, and carbs especially too, like just getting boosted with carbs.
That's just it. Yeah. So and you're getting in with beans, you're getting the carbs and the proteins together.
Yeah.
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 With chicken, it's just like I don't know. It's just I don't watch Game Changers. Tell your son to watch Game Changers, the documentary. It was on Netflix. I think it still is. Because that's all about like vegan athletes and whatnot. And also, just to speak to the tofu thing, like usually when I hear people don't like tofu, what I actually hear my brain is like, oh, you don't know how to cook it, because tofu doesn't have. If you're eating tofu on its own, of course you don't like it. It's awful. It's not awful.
Eating a brick while you're
Well, that's just it. It doesn't really have a flavor.
Mhm.
It has like a mild flavor that's about like I don't even know how you would describe it, beanie a little bit, but it's like
Yep.
tofu is a sponge for. It's just like it's an open canvas that you can create so many different textures, so many different flavors. It's just begging you to flavor the hell out of it. Grate it up so it can look like pulled pork. Throw a spice rub on it and bake it. Or there's so many different ways. Or blend it up and then cook it like an omelet, like Cody was saying, right? Like put tons of spices. If you like heat, throw some sriracha and some hot sauce. It's really just a vessel for flavor. So it's like I won't accept the argument that people don't like tofu. I don't like the taste of tofu, because I'm like, nobody likes the taste of tofu. That's why you flavor it.
Yeah, but I think it's incredibly easy. The chicken thing's a myth, and obviously for meat eaters, that's the best option, right? Like, and it's specifically for meat eaters the best option, because all of the other meats aren't great to build muscle with.
That's just it. Like so many of the meat substitutes, like seitan and stuff like that, like that's just gluten. It's just there's. I'm not saying there isn't protein in it, but it's not a significant enough source.
But like having like a handful of like nuts too, like, and everything, like having like some like almonds and like cashews, and like just doing that stuff as well as your snack. Like if you're measuring out like how much he weighs compared to how much protein he needs, I think I want to say it's like 30 grams per. I don't remember what it exactly is.
Yeah, look it up though. There are.
I can't think. Yeah.
Tell you what, if you find it after, you can send me a link and I'll add it to the description down below.
Yeah,
I think there's a calculator out there.
But it's just about having more protein than necessary, basically. More protein than what, like just for your specific body weight.
Yeah.
And then you're going to gain it. Doesn't matter what you're having. Like, but chickpeas and beans are kind of like the best thing. Tofu as well, but if he doesn't like it.
That's just it. And if you're eating the rainbow and eating a good balance of other plant-based sources of like nuts and seeds and vegetables and fruits, like you're also getting a significant amount of protein just through that.
Oh, there's a good pumpkin seed protein powder too.
Okay, right.
That's really nice too. And adding pumpkin seeds to stuff, especially if he's doing like a protein shake too, just like throwing in some like cashews and pumpkin seeds and like just blending all of that stuff up with like some spinach and protein powder, you're going to be golden with that too.
Yeah, especially seeds. Whenever you mix seeds and greens, it unlocks additional nutrients. Pumpkin seed tofu. Kimberly's asking about that. I'm going to make some pumpkin seed tofu, because apparently it's the one thing you can make tofu out of that you don't need to add a congealant to it, because there's a casein inside of it that's natural. So literally all you need to do is just like do all the things you need to do and boil it. So I'm going to do that soon, because I've seen some videos on it and I'm very curious about it.
It's higher in protein too, I believe.
It's healthy, higher in healthy fats, higher in protein. I think the problem with it is it's expensive, because the pumpkin seeds you're buying, but Costco sells them. There's places that sell. Yeah. When I do my next Costco run, I'm going to throw that in, and
We live in the same neighborhood, and there's a place that sells a nice like juice shop where he makes his own juices and everything, but he sells the pumpkin seed protein powder there, and often has like sales to clear it out and everything.
Nice. I have my own little milk machine now, so I've been making pumpkin seed milk, which is
Oh,
delicious.
what? I need to try that.
Well,
Oh.
next time I come over, I'll bring you a mason jar full of pumpkin seed milk.
Just chugging it while watching Survivor.
Yeah, it'd be great. Well, thank you, Cody, for your time, and thanks those who either were with us live or joining us after. Cody, you want to give a little information on where people can find you? I'll also add it to the description down below. Cody, you can send me that information after, so I don't miss any of it.
Yeah. So you can find me at Cody Crain on Instagram. I post some gym stuff on there too. Some good gym selfies at what everyone loves. But I also post all the stuff I do on there. As I have a podcast like that Jeremy's been on. Actually, both of my podcasts, Merge Boot. It's a Survivor podcast. We talk about Survivor, basically an after show, and then the other one is Spooked, and that is the improvised scary story podcast where it's never scary and sometimes a story. We're on our 9th year of just dumb improv nonsense. We've had people like Jeremy on. We've had even stars like Adrian Barbeau on. So it's been all over the map for the people that we've had on that podcast and had a good fun time with. And then the other thing is, if you're on CBS watching Survivor already, watch what's on after it. Ghosts on CBS, and you'll see a familiar face every once in a while. And that familiar face I'm referencing is me.
There you go.
Not Adrian Barbeau again.
No. All right. Well, thanks, Cody. Thank you so much for your time. I know this is so helpful for so many people, so I appreciate it. And if you got questions after you're watching this, throw them in the comments down below, and I'll try to get Cody to pop over to the page from time to time to answer them.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me on.
My pleasure. All right, everyone. Thanks again for watching.